lot of absences.
I don't know if it's intentional, but everyone is still muted.
We're still waiting for a quorum.
I think we have one.
All right, we're waiting for a quorum. We've got 3 people that are gonna be late. One of them just a couple of minutes now, and we'll have a quorum, and then we'll start the meeting. One, two. So I understand Yolana's gonna be listening in, but she can't put her face because she's at parent-teacher conference. So we can't count her as part of the quorum. So Tony will be here in about 2 minutes.
We don't,
I thought that
quorum.
was-
1, 2, 3,
She
Passes a core, but she can't do.
She can't roll call, but she counts.
If she's
I
on
know she
video.
can't, right, she knows that, she's,
Well,
And
is she, so
apparently
in what
something-
capacity is she listening in? Is she on Zoom right now?
She's on Zoom, but we can't have her
No,
face
she's-
because she's a
she's
parent-teacher.
not on
Zoom.
She's
Zoom.
not on Zoom.
Oh, she's not?
Well,
I thought.
is she
Not
on
yet.
Zoom?
Not yet.
Not yet. So something must have.
Oh, Rick's here.
I'm sorry?
Rick Nelson is here.
Oh, he's on Zoom?
No, he just.
Oh, that's even better.
Oh, maybe we can make it 6. That's great.
You fixed it.
All right, let's call this meeting to order, please. Roll call, vote. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Cleveland. Here. Councilman Stocksenheimer is absent. Councilman Jackson.
Here.
Councilman Evans.
Here.
Councilman Nelson.
Present.
Councilman Hong.
Present.
Councilwoman Rosso.
Here,
And Councilwoman Campbell is absent. You have a quorum.
Thank you. First item of business, discussion of Council Bill 23-25. an ordinance of the city of Normandy, Missouri, amending ordinance 767 previously adopted October 11, 2022, dissolving the special allocation fund for the Natural Bridge Road redevelopment area, and terminating the designation of certain portions of the city of Normandy, Missouri relating to that redevelopment area, and authorizing certain actions relating thereto. And this is the dissolving the TIF is what this is. And it's,
This is the second reading, right? No?
no,
This,
we haven't seen, my understanding, correct me
This is
if I'm
first.
wrong. Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, so this, we're just getting into practice. If we have a first reading, we have it on the workshop before the second reading, just in case there's any questions or updates. And I do have just a quick update. I was able to confirm all the numbers for, how much would be paid back to the city of Normandy with the Department of Revenue. Right now, it's looking at, so there's about 1.1 million in the TIF, 941,000 of that is gonna be going back to Normandy.
Thank goodness.
Because we're reallocating the TIFs to the districts that they would have gone to if the TIF never existed. So 449,000 will go to the Parks and Stormwater Restricted Fund. Another 449,000 will go to the Economic Development Restricted Fund. And then 41,000, almost 42,000 will go to the Capital Improvement Fund. 170,000 will go to the St. Louis County Pool, which it will go to the St. Louis County Treasurer, and will get paid out to all the municipalities in the county, including us, so some of that will come back to us. And then, what's left of the 1.1 million after that and expenses will go to the St. Louis County Collector to get paid out in property taxes. Very small portion will actually come back to us as well, but, yeah, when we had the first reading, I didn't have all the numbers going back to 2009, but those are the full numbers, and kind of, it's almost like we got a forced savings account. I mean, this is money that we would have gotten over the past 15 years, if we never had the TIF, but, so it's just been set aside, and now it's time to come back.
Good time.
And that's
to
really
get
all I have to update on.
Sam, could we get a breakdown and maybe a hard copy to each council person?
Yeah, I can send that out.
Yeah, thank you.
Only thing I know, and again, none of that's really going back to the general fund. So
Right.
we're somewhat restricted in the way we have to use it.
Exactly.
And,
I figured that it was gonna be restricted.
yeah.
And it's
So-
just gonna give you
So basically, the restrictions, whatever the restrictions are, we need to follow those and get stuff done that we need in that area of the restrictions, right?
Yeah,
So we don't sit on it, because we could lose it, right?
no, these will just be in our fund balances.
Okay.
So, but, we should spend them because, you know,
We need it.
inflation and all that. I mean, and there's stuff we need done in economic development and parks.
Right.
And, we have, you know, we're working on some ideas. Parks Board's working on a park master plan. We've got plenty of economic development work that can be done.
Okay.
And this will allow us to do some of that.
What would be capital development? What would be examples?
Capital improvement is any purchase that has a lifespan over 2 years. So that can be a lot of stuff. It could be an improvement to City Hall, it can be a police vehicle, it can be a public works vehicle, it can be a road. But that's a much smaller disbursement there just because of how the different taxes are calculated over the years.
And that number was in the neighborhood of $40,000.
42?
42.
Okay.
So could the speed bumps go under capital development?
Yes,
So we could have more of that project done?
yeah, and we'll talk about that.
Okay.
All right.
Cause you know, I had a question about the speed bumps too.
Well, we got it on.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
okay.
So my understanding is we have not had the first reading of this bill, and that's not gonna be until,
We had the first.
we had the first reading. All right. So we'll have the second reading at the regular November meeting. looking to adopt this. So if there's any additional questions, now would be the time. Are we good? Okay. Discussion of Council Bill 23-26, an ordinance of the City of Normandy, Missouri, amending the Personnel Policy Manual by adding Section 19, Employee Safety. This one, again, we discussed not at length. It sets a framework for the department heads to create safety policies for each individual department versus having a one-size-fits-all for the entire city. And Sam, do you have anything to add to that?
No major updates. Andy did have a few suggested things just to reduce some duplication within our personnel manual. So you may see some very slight changes before the second reading, but mostly is if there was any input on what was presented at the last meeting, now would be the time to hear it. Otherwise, or we can talk about it now, or otherwise we'll just, continue on at the next meeting and get it implemented.
So this is within the personal policy manual?
Yes.
This is a section,
It's gonna be a new section.
and we already discussed this at the last meeting.
We had the first
We
reading.
had the first reading.
Yeah.
And it had just been introduced at that time. There
Yeah.
wasn't a lot of time for discussion because people hadn't had a lot of time to absorb what it was. That's why it's in front of you right now, to have an opportunity to ask questions or have any input on that bill.
Well, I've got it from the last meeting,
Yes.
section 19, is that what you're looking at?
Yeah, it's in your packet from the regular meeting.
Right, I
Yeah.
got it, okay.
Okay. All right, if there's no more questions on Bill 2326, the next item on the agenda is discussion of the Historic Preservation District Ordinance, which we have one in place. You haven't seen the new one, but I'll let Sam introduce what's going on with this and
Okay.
why we need to write a new one.
So, some of this was spurred on by the consolidation. Glen Echo wants to be a historic district. We started working with the Historic Preservation Commission, and we found out that there was an ordinance passed in 2011 by the council that established a framework for creating a historic district and enforcing historically appropriate building permits within the district. It was
What
a-
year was that?
I believe it was 2011. However, when we went back in the minute, for some reason it wasn't codified in our online code. So we went back in the minutes and we found out that it was not properly adopted. It was a ordinance that amended the zoning code, and we had no proof that it had ever been to planning and zoning, and we had no proof to the contrary that it had ever had a public hearing, both of which are necessary for an amendment to the zoning code. So the ordinance is pretty well written, and talking to some of the members of the Historic Preservation Commission, they remember working on it, 10 years ago. And so at their last meeting, a few weeks ago, they recommended to the council that we re-adopt this bill with the proper procedures, of course. And so the proper procedures would then, for it to go through planning and zoning. And so at this point, what we need from the council is a motion to refer it to planning and zoning. That way they can start working through the ordinance there, and then it would get passed up to you guys. There would be a public hearing, and then you guys could make any changes to the ordinance that you want. So if there's any questions about the ordinance, which really governs the commission as opposed to any specific district, I can answer it now, or you can wait until planning and zoning gets through with it. It's up to you guys, so.
So when you say change the ordinance then, are we gonna get like, some training or some information before? So we know what might be a change in the ordinance?
Yeah, well, like before you refer it to the question? Or to
So
refer it to the
I
planning and
think I
zoning
heard you
commission?
say that there is an ordinance, they want us to, read it and, suggest, to pass it, but you're saying, if we have any changes in it, so,
Well, what we wanna do first is refer it to planning and zoning and let them work on this ordinance.
Yeah, and then kick it back.
And then
to
they'll
us.
kick it back to us and we can have a in-depth
Have a
discussion
discussion.
at that time. But they will have done, the Historic Preservation Commission will have done a large part of the work, then it goes to planning and zoning, and there'll be hopefully very little to do unless there's objections to what is the content of that bill. But what I'll ask for at this time is a motion to refer to planning and zoning, a Historic Preservation District ordinance.
I'll make that motion,
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
because I would like to see what constitute a historical home instead
Ayes have it, motion carries.
of just the age of it.
Tony, what did you just say? That's-
I would like to see what constitute a historical, home instead of just the age of it.
Mhm.
Because I know it's a lot of old homes over there.
Would that be in the ordinance?
Well, when they kick it back to us, we'll see.
Okay, got it.
All right. Item 4, discussion of the consolidation of the city of Normandy and the village of Glen Echo Park. The first meeting of the Consolidation Commission was had, and I did not attend, I was out of town, but a lot of issues came up, waste collection, parking regulations, park maintenance for the park they've got in there, street maintenance, they've got some funds sitting
Yeah.
that they want a commitment from us to use those on the street. So, go ahead, Sam, I'll let you.
Yeah, there was quite a few items that we worked through, but there's really only 4 things that I either want to make the council aware of because there will be ordinances coming up in the next few meetings. Just put those on your radar, and then there's some stuff that you guys will need to consider even ahead of those ordinances. So, one, he mentioned waste collection. Right now, we have a tentative yes from both Waste Management and their current waste provider that would allow them to continue to use their waste person until the end of 2024. We don't have anything in writing, but basically the representative from Waste Management is kind of like, we don't really want the headache of taking that over just for such a short period, because our contract is up at the end of next year anyways. So we're still working out some of that, but it could be, we may be bringing a contract to allow Ward Refuse, who's their trash collector, to provide trash services to them when we consolidate. And I know that's something that they're interested in, and I don't, if everyone's okay with it, I don't really see what the hangup would be. Another thing, they were asking about snowplow services, and there will be something brought at the next meeting. Honestly, we're so close to being consolidated anyways, it's all gonna be one pot of money soon. So, we're gonna bring a contract to the council, and we can amend it if you guys would like, but we're gonna provide, snowing and salting services to them for $1, basically, and we'll have a contract on paper to cover any, liability, but, we'll just start working them in this winter, since it's happening in the middle of winter. If there's any objections to that, then, we can go back and talk to them, but, so close to consolidating anyways, I think it makes sense to just go ahead and start the service.
Can I ask a question? Is that okay?
Go ahead.
Okay. Since they're not gonna be a part of Normandy until what, April maybe?
February.
February, oh, okay. That takes away my question.
Yeah. Otherwise, they're gonna be looking for, salting
Yeah.
service for
I'm
when,
sorry, yeah.
half the winter.
Okay.
The other one is, we'll have a new sewer lateral ordinance that will come before the council, potentially at the next meeting. I think it's pretty much ready. With the increase to $50, I'm 95% confident that we will be sustainable for 20 years, reimbursing 100% of any sewer lateral break. Right now, we cover 85% of the cost of any break, and we're around breaking even. We're gonna, nearly double our intake on the sewer lateral tax each year, but we're only looking at, covering that extra 15%. So we, not only do I think our fund balances will go up over the next few years, it's gonna take a while for inflation to catch up, and we should have a sustainable sewer lateral fund that covers the entire thing. So,
Mayor, I want to ask.
Go ahead.
Sam, so you're saying that Glen Echo in February, there'll be, the merge will be intact, is that what you're saying?
yes.
Well, so would they have any candidates to run for office? Are they eligible?
My understanding is that, and we've done some research on this, and we've talked to the election board as well, and everything suggests that yes, they will be able to file in Ward 4 in December, because the consolidation is imminent, and they will be residents at election
Okay, so
day.
they can run for board, positions in April, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. I heard, but I wasn't quite sure, I wanted to hear.
But it wasn't sure
Yeah.
until recently.
Okay.
And that's, looks like the direction it's going.
Okay.
And then last is the road question, and this is something that they're asking, and we may want to negotiate a little bit on this. But it's up to you guys. They're asking that everything that's left in their general fund at the time of consolidation is set aside and spent on resurfacing their roads.
Yeah.
Originally, it looked like that was gonna be about $40,000, but it turns out they have some ARPA money that they're going to, that won't be ARPA money by the time we consolidate, but it's gonna be about $70,000
Yeah.
that we set aside. I see two sides of it. It's gonna be one, pot of money. Honestly, we're gonna have to maintain their roads once we consolidate.
There's only 2 streets over there, right?
Yeah, and so, and $70,000 will be a good chunk in it, but that's what they're asking, and if everyone's okay with it, or if we wanna say, we'll do 50,000 or something like that, then we will present either a resolution or ordinance to adopt before the consolidation, basically making that promise in writing. And then when we go out to bid for street improvements this year with our CDBG funds and what's in our street improvement funds, we'll include Henderson and St. Andrews up to $70,000, or whatever they bring over,
Oh, I
whatever it ends up being. So,
Do they have a street assessment?
they do, they're supposed to be sending it to me, but I haven't quite seen it yet.
What would be helpful is a look at their street assessment
Yeah.
and some estimate as to what their streets need and what it would cost to do that.
Right,
And if it's $50,000, there's no need to reserve $70,000.
sure. I would be surprised if it was much less than $70,000
Okay.
to do both streets.
Okay. Thank you.
There's some issues.
Anyone else have any questions or
Yeah,
suggestions or concerns about this merger?
So are they not then going to put monies from the county to fix up individual homes? What, are they,
CDBG fund, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The CDBG fund's kind of an open question. It depends on what county allows us to do with it. Because the thing is, they get the minimum CDBG allocation for being an entity, which is $20,000. Whereas the marginal 120 people for Normandy is not $20,000. I don't even think it will move the needle on our annual $66,000.
right? But
So-
they were talking that they were going to use that money,
In my,
individual,
And that was
connect up
my
with the
understanding also.
Right, so
That they were
where does
committing
that fit in?
those dollars to the housing fund rehabbing houses.
yeah. So, I don't know, and we don't have a good answer on that. My point is, I don't think we're getting a clear answer from county quite yet. But generally, if they commit the funds, they don't like it if you change the commitment. And also, I think
Well, I don't
we
think
could
it is-
use it in the home improvement
So
program.
with the county,
so.
I believe it was initiated by their chairperson to allot the monies and get the contracts and hook up with the county then.
Yeah, and I don't know the answer to this, Sam. Do they have committed CDBG funds now that they have not yet received?
Yeah, my understanding is that their funds are actually to be received in 2025.
Oh, shoot, yeah.
And so that's why it's really uncertain if they're gonna still, they are under the impression that they're still gonna have those funds to allocate. But I would wanna see something from St. Louis County in writing.
Yeah, that's why it was gonna be $40,000 was the number I remember it being, because they were gonna get it on year 2.
Yeah, year 2, and I don't know if they are because they're not gonna exist in year 2. So, but I don't know, maybe
So-
maybe that's not how counties work.
The answer is a
They will
big,
continue
we
to
don't know
exist.
anything yet, because the county hasn't
Yeah.
given us any direction.
But doesn't it initiate, like, we talked about that and said, no, we're not gonna do that, cause there's more general things needed
Right.
for the city. But are having or had conversations that they were going to earmark money, hook up with the county and provide services for individual houses. So I would think that would be a topic of 1 through 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 then, so we know where the monies are going.
Well, if they're gonna get the money, that's the
If they're-
big
oh.
question. That's the big.
Does that
unknown.
make sense? I mean, if we're hearing these conversations,
It-
why aren't you hearing them?
Well, we did talk about it last meeting, I just don't have a good update for you guys. I would say, I mean, assuming that we can, or that us, Glen Echo and Normandy can keep that money and use it, it is my understanding that Glen Echo would like for it to be used in the home improvement fund. And if that's their wishes, then I would think it would make sense to respect that, but that would, be up to the new council of the new city. Ultimately, I will say that once you commit something in county, they don't like it when you change it, so. But again, it's a lot of assumptions that, stuff we still gotta figure out, so.
I just wanted to hear that was discussed with you, about, because there's been conversations previous to this.
Okay. Anyone else?
Mayor,
How,
um,
please.
Councilwoman Rosso, just to maybe, add some clarity to what you were asking. Yes, there was discussion, with the Village of Glen Echo Park regarding using those funds for their coming CDBG allocation, for home improvement. But I think that since, consolidation during this type of, period of determining the allocation for CDBG funds, it's really unclear, and it's not a very common thing that happens, so the county is still also trying to figure out, answers for both the municipalities.
Makes sense.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. Discussion of speed humps.
Humps or bumps?
Bumps, humps, whichever. I think the humps was with the direction we were going with this. We voted on a budget. There's $2,000 in that budget for speed humps,
Which isn't.
which is 3.
Oh, sorry,
Go ahead.
the budget's 5,000. We have a quote for 4,500 to do 3 locations.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of where we're at is, I think we have 5, there was 5 locations that Chief Sanders recommended based off of where they write tickets. And so we either have to pick from 3 of those 5, or the council can decide to go into reserves if they want to. It's gonna be
Where are
up to
they?
you guys.
With the location.
She recommended the 3 long streets in Norwood Manor, Dartmoor, Paddington, and Ellington. And then she said if you're gonna do Stanwood or Bellwood, you should do them both, because it's just not gonna make a difference if you only do one.
Right.
So, and that's
What was
kind of
Dartmoor,
some,
Ellington, and what was the third one?
Dartmoor, Ellington, and Paddington.
Paddington.
Really? Those, they ran a lot of tickets on those streets?
That's where, I mean, those are the longest streets in the subdivision, where people can pick up the most speed.
Mm-hmm.
Portchester is the longest street. From, from
Well,
Blanford to.
but there's a speed hump on Portchester though.
No,
No,
there's none.
they actually took the speed bumps out of Paddington and Ellington. They had them at one time when I was on the council before, when they put them on Dartmoor. They had them on those two streets, and whatever reason,
They're gone.
they were taken out. There's actually still a sign there
From Paddington, yeah,
on Paddington saying there's a speed bump, but there is no speed bump.
no,
And the sign's been there for
20 years.
a long time. So what I'm saying is to recommend to put them there would be foolish at this point, because for some reason, someone wanted them out. How, I don't know, I was not on the council at that time. I was the one that recommended it originally to put them on there. But they haven't been on there since the previous two administrations.
Well,
Say, I was told they were taken out by snowplows.
Like snowplows?
Makes sense.
The ones that's on Dartmoor are still there though. What happened?
They were-
If you hit them hard enough,
Yeah.
What are
Plow
the same
too low.
size?
well,
if the
no,
plow's
no
too
one,
low, it'll,
no one's
you know,
here
they're not putting
anymore.
down
from
property.
I know, right, okay.
But again, those are just recommendations. It was based off of the length of the street and the fact that it connects to a collector road in Bermuda. So at this point, the recommend, if it's, we need to decide if it's 3 or 5, and then you guys decide, the streets, and then if we can just get a motion to go forward with whatever you guys decide, and we'll get it on the schedule.
Can I ask a question?
Rick, go ahead.
Those are long streets, but, what about Bermuda Road? Have we,
That's
That's
county.
that's all county, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
How many speed
Please,
bumps did you?
Karen, go ahead. Go ahead.
How many speed bumps did you say that you possibly have?
So, the speed bumps are about
Without-
humps, yes, humps, you are correct, humps. They're about the asphalt ones are about $1,500, and then you need to account for, another 100 to 200 or so for signage. So 4,500 would give us enough to deal with the signage and all the paint and everything else, and get 3. If we're gonna do, 5, then we're probably looking around $8,000.
I'm going to recommend it. He's sitting here, but Blanford is one of those streets when they come off of Sanborn. I like to see one on Sanborn. When they leave Sanborn, because I've been almost head-on collision from them coming to Sanborn. They go down Blanford
Yeah.
because Blanford turns into Portchester, and that's where the speeding goes from zoop down the street, up or down the street. But I recommend, and I know she didn't say Blanford, but Blanford definitely needs speed humps, bumps, or whatever on that street, because that is a dangerous street, very dangerous. He sees it, I know it, I see it as well, because the guy came off of Sanborn like on 2 wheels, and we both got this close together. And my eyes are this big, and he looking like, girl, move. Like, I'm trying to go, but so.
And there is an intersection at Sanborn, so I get your argument, but
Yeah.
that may be some difference.
What they're doing is
And
they're
I-
going down Parkchester, excuse me, Tony, I apologize. They're going down Parkchester, gaining speed, coming up Blanford and then around like a big
Yeah.
loop, and I think that's helping
Pinball
with,
machine.
yeah, it's kind of, they're missing Dartmoor,
Because
and they're
of
coming
speed.
around the other part because there's speed bumps.
Yeah.
And, I'm sorry, Tony, go ahead.
And I'm gonna mention, and I talked to chiefs about this, Bellwood and Stanwood is such a long, straight street. And I know you've had residents call up here and come to meetings and talk about the people that's speeding up the street. They're doing 70 and 80 miles an hour. And the reason that, and I talked to her about this, the reason that she suggested to do both of them, because they'll come up Bermuda Bellwood, and if we put the speed bump right there at the park, they'll cut up Kirkland and go over to Stanwood and just keep going.
Yeah.
That's why she said if you don't, If you do one, you gotta do both, because they'll start cutting over to get to the other. And I've had so many residents, have you guys had residents, or you just see people?
I sit in my window all day and I
But-
just see
but-
them just.
but-
Let me.
Well, let me ask you, have you had residents actually call up to the city or complain about people speeding?
I was told that, I can't verify it. That's
Okay,
about-
well, I can verify it, because I've had
Well,
people
let me
call
offer
up.
this.
And I mentioned them 2 years ago, you know, about the speed bumps. Now everybody's piggybacking off about speed
Let-
bumps,
let's-
which isn't cool at all.
Let me make a suggestion. Let's talk about how much money we wanna commit to this. Like, we operated capital improvement on a shoestring last year. It was tight. Every
Yeah.
time you need a vehicle repaired, or you need a set of tires, or, it was close. So we have to be careful about
Yeah.
how many dollars. Yes, it's important, but we're
But-
still
but-
limited
but
by
here-
budget.
But here's the
Well,
thing.
here's what, let me finish.
Okay, go ahead.
Here's what I'm gonna
I'm-
say. Let's
okay.
determine how much money we wanna commit to this, and then prioritize the streets that we're gonna, to commit to.
Okay.
Now, how many, and I think we have to work within a budget, and we could go on and name a lot of streets that
Okay.
could use speed bumps, but we have to determine, okay, where's this gonna end, because there are gonna be a lot of things that are gonna need help this year.
Yeah.
So let's have that conversation. We've got 5 in the budget. If we wanna go beyond that, I would suggest we go into reserves for it, because even though we do have that infusion of 40 in capital improvement, there's a lot of capital improvement, that's facing the city. There's some streets that we're gonna have to patch just to get by, just like we did this. This was 10 grand. It was great. And if we didn't do it, we wouldn't have a parking lot by next year. It would have washed away in the rain. But we've got a lot of these types of issues looking at it. So, again, what's the dollar amount that we're willing to commit to speed humps? It's one of many issues that we're gonna be facing.
So you're saying the reserves, where's the reserve?
We've got some reserve dollars, and I think, I mean, what's our surplus, Sam?
Well, surplus is not the right word,
Okay,
because we have a deficit. But
Yeah.
Right, right.
we do have reserves.
we do have reserves.
Yes,
Okay.
I don't have it in front of me, but it,
It was significant.
actually, I may have it in front of me.
Is that from the cell tower money?
No.
Well, that's part of it.
Yeah, well, you could if you voted on it, right.
Hold on.
But
So
here-
in general fund reserves, the subject still needs to get confirmed after end of year statements, but we're looking at, it looks like 1.7 million in general, which is, we're doing a lot better than we were last year and the year before that. Capital improvement reserves are much lower. We're looking at budgeted reserve at the end of the fiscal year of only 15,000. That's of course before the 40,000 that we talked about earlier.
You said 50?
15.
15, okay.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, Tony?
The last 5 rounds of CBG money,
Yeah.
where did it go?
Last 5, a majority of it
Yes, the
went
majority
to
of it.
the sidewalks.
Okay,
In
which
the amount
is
of about 230,000.
Okay, which is located where?
Those were all Ward 1.
Okay,
Ward one.
that's all I'm saying.
So-
I'm saying, okay, you guys got the last 5 rounds of CBG. You gotta spread the love throughout the city. That's all I'm saying. Because 60,000 for the last 5 years went down in Ward 1. No other ward got anything.
The last,
The last 5 CBG,
went to Ward 1?
yes, and sidewalks.
Okay.
It didn't go anywhere else. The only thing I'm saying is that, like, we got other wards that need attention also.
I totally
You
agree.
can't get it all at once. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you know
You,
what?
you,
I'm
you
sorry.
spent over 500,000 in sidewalks. I think that these other wards need help too.
Oh, we're
You can't have it all at once, Karen.
but we're not asking for that, but we know that past administration for Ward 1 has been totally neglected.
Oh, you got over $500,000 in
But that's not
sidewalks.
it though, Tony, we've got,
One at a time.
okay.
Let her have it. then you can
But you're
respond.
not making any sense though.
But hold up.
You're not making any
Tony,
sense.
let her.
No, she's
then
not
you can
making any
respond.
sense. I just
Tony,
gave you a
let
figure,
her-
but you're not making any
let her-
sense.
let her-
You're saying that the last administration, that's not making any sense to me.
Okay,
The
Kevin.
last
Tony,
5
Tony.
CDG.
You
Okay,
can
okay,
respond, you can respond,
Okay.
let her have her word.
okay.
Okay. For years, I've been in Ward 1 for 30 years. I've still got trees, which I was gonna send pictures to Sam, that need to be cut back. We've had last administration that have called about those trees. You guys probably have money back, I'm just saying.
Address them. Don't look at me
Oh,
now.
well, you,
Right.
you had-
Well, you're the-
I mean,
for the last years, that we never, the trees are still out of control. We've got trees that are going out to the street. Now, I'm not saying that we need all the money. I wasn't even part of any of these, recommendations. But we had city council people sit on this side with everybody else and didn't do anything for Ward 1. What I'm saying to you, I don't, what I'm saying to everyone, that I wasn't a part of getting the sidewalks with Ward 1. That's fine, we have that. This is the first time we've had anything done in that ward since I've been there, period. We've got the speed bumps or humps, whatever they are on our streets, but that was 20 years ago. What about years ago when I sent emails about the trees? I don't want to hear nobody say it's an act of God when that huge tree falls on my home, because we're gonna be fighting City Hall. We've got trees like that on my street that are kissing each other on the street. This trees in front of my house has dead wood. How many years do you want me to keep talking to a council about what we need on Ward 1? We're talking about, Tony, I'm sorry, everyone, we're talking about at least 10 years that these folks sat on this side didn't do anything. So what are we supposed to do?
Okay.
I'm just
Tony,
asking.
what can you
You wanna
use?
respond, and then I wanna get back
Can you
to-
use CDG money to cut down trees?
You have to replace the tree if you use CDBG.
Okay.
I'm not asking for replacement, I'm asking to cut back.
Okay, and what I'll say is, we don't have any trouble identifying needs. Okay? Our challenge is dollars. We can identify all kinds of needs, but we need solutions to dollars. So I wanna get back to the point of, we've got a limited budget. We're gonna have a lot of challenges in the coming year because of that $400,000 insurance bill we got slapped with. We're gonna do the very best we can do, but let's have a discussion about how many dollars we're willing to commit to this. And with those dollars, how many speed humps can we put in? And at that time, we'll talk about how to divvy up the speed humps.
I just need to. That's all
I hear you, man.
Can I say something?
Yes, Kevin.
Okay, so I remember being a citizen about 2 years ago, we talked about the speed bumps. And they said that we were gonna be trying to get them. Now, 2 years later, now we're talking about speed bumps when I don't remember really nobody talking about it back then. And I'm not saying that you can't bring it up now, but it seemed like we could have been taking care of a couple of speed humps where we needed them. Okay, my street is raggedy. We got potholes all up and down the street. That hasn't been addressed. That's over 2 years. Then we have residents flying down the street doing donuts at the end of the block at the cul-de-sac. And I'm just worried that one day somebody's gonna get out of control, the car gonna go out of control and run into one of the houses. So that was my concern when I was trying to help the administration go in the right direction back then, and I brought that up and nothing ever happened. I remember last year I made a statement before, I got on the board, and we said that it was a few thousand, I think $5,000-7,000 in it, and still nothing happened. Again, my street still is raggedy. We still have,
Yeah, we talked about the
we
donuts.
still have potholes. I've been talking about this when I was a citizen, been talking about it since I've been on the council. And so, when I sit up here and I see these monies going here and there, it's kind of frustrating. Because as a citizen, I was believing in the city, I was believing in the council, I was believing in working with everybody up here. But I'm kind of doubting myself now because I got out there not getting paid with all my hard time and work. to help this city move in the right direction because the previous administration was so screwed up. But I'm gonna be honest, I'm seeing some of the same things that was going on back then with this
So
council.
what's your recommended solution? That's what we're trying,
I'm
that's
saying,
why we're here
my
now.
recommended solution is this, okay, if you're gonna do speed bumps, whatever, okay, we have this ward saying they need this money. This ward saying that, we don't have enough money for it. I feel like I need some. Personally, I would rather my street get taken care of, if nothing else but the potholes or whatever.
Yeah, let's
to be taken.
compromise.
We need to
Yeah, you
go in
have
that
to compromise.
direction.
But when you
Yeah.
don't wanna compromise, that's a problem.
David?
They don't
Yeah,
want-
thank you for making Sorry for the echo. My suggestion would be, let's go ahead and bump everything up to $10,000 so that we can have 2 speed bumps or humps in Ward 1 and 2 in Ward 2.
That would be,
If it's 10,000,
we can do 6.
yeah.
We can do
Even
6 with
better.
10,000.
So that will be 3.
I know that's stretching the money that we have, but I think it is pertinent, and I think it's a matter of public safety. If it were up to me, we'd have even more money in all wards for every street that needs it. But of course, that's not up to me. We're only able to do what we can do with the money that we do have. Let's spend $10,000.
Well, $10,000 would put speed humps on Dartmoor, Ellington, Paddington, Stanwood, Bellwood, and Blandford. Those are the streets that I've heard are the highest priority at this time.
So
I
she
know,
didn't mention
Say that
Bellwood
again,
Court.
Dartmoor,
Not
Ellington,
Bellwood Court.
yeah, I mean,
No, I just.
Well, we're gonna worry
Just
about
2
the
and 2,
potholes, yeah.
just 2 and 2. I just want potholes done. Just
Okay.
2 and 1,
Right,
2
we
and
need
2.
potholes down
Do
over
it
there.
like that.
so,
Talk to Dennis about that, they was out today.
any feedback on that number of $10,000? Because again,
Someone should make.
5 of it's gonna come out of reserve, so if there's no other input, David, would you care to put that in the form of a motion?
So you
Sure.
said reserve
I'd like to make a
funds.
motion, please, to spend up to $10,000 of funds to put in speed bumps or humps as necessary, as indicated by suggestion of Normandy Police.
All right, we have a motion to commit $10,000 to the installation of speed humps
Okay.
throughout the city.
it's,
There's a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Comments?
I
Steve?
agree with what he said as far as the 10,000 limit, but if we go by what the chief said, are we gonna go by what everyone here agrees?
We're committing to a dollar amount at this time, and then we're gonna talk about what we can do with it.
Okay.
Sam?
So you guys can make the motion, and then we'll have a budget amendment soon, and we'll figure it out then. And it shouldn't be an issue. We can talk about at that time drawing it out of reserves from capital improvement or reserves from general fund. But either way, you know, we're not gonna go negative as a result of it, so.
Okay.
I-
I'm
Just
done.
as a practical
Okay.
matter.
So hold on, how much is the speed humps? You said
There's a motion to commit
$1,500
$10,000.
$1,500 a bump.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Yeah, 10,000 would get us 6.
And the more we get, the price will go down a little bit.
Yeah.
He didn't, I don't know what the amount is,
Right.
but it will go down. And the other thing I need to tell you is, we've waited long enough that we may not be able to get it done before winter weather sets in, and it may be the first thing in spring. So I'll have to call St. Louis Paving tomorrow. I'm just letting you know. I just want you all to know.
Right. Well, what I would think is the most fairest thing to do is, since they said 2 over in Ward 2, 2 in Ward 1, 4 speed bumps, and we do some kind of road repair. So that's what I recommend.
Yeah, because we have potholes.
I need a speed hump on my street, but I'd rather get some street repairs on my street.
And I think I know what you're going, but go ahead.
one, we're just talking about the dollar amount right now, from my
Yeah.
understanding. And
Yeah.
two, Bermuda Court is in the budget for resurfacing. I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, but there's potholes over there right now, so.
Right, I believe Dennis was out there today, but again,
All right.
it's up for this, late spring and early summer.
There was a lot of the holes were filled, but there's a lot of them, if we waste putting stuff in them, it's gonna, we can't put an exuberant amount of asphalt into one set of holes, cause it does exactly what you guys were just talking about. It leaves me no asphalt for other holes. So we're trying to be selective. We've gone through the entire town now and done something in every ward. You know, it may not be exactly what everybody's wanting, but there has been some holes filled in every ward.
And to be clear, Bermuda Court is scheduled to be resurfaced in the spring.
Yeah, we voted on that with the CDBG funds.
Okay.
So have we had an assessment on,
Well, let's
Okay.
we've got a motion and a second for a dollar amount of $10,000, not to exceed
yeah, let's.
$10,000. And if there's no more discussion or input, since it's a dollar amount, I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Councilwoman Cleveland.
Yes.
Councilman Saxonhammer.
Yes.
Councilman Jackson.
No.
Councilman Evans.
Yes.
Councilman Nelson.
Yes.
Councilman Long.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosso.
Yes.
Councilwoman Campbell is absent.
Ayes have it, motion carries. All right, now we've got $10,000 to work with. I thought I heard that there was what I think is a majority opinion on those 6 streets in Ward 1 and Ward 2. Stanwood, Bellwood, Dartmoor, Ellington, Paddington, and Blandford. One of the concerns I have, if you do one and don't do the other, you just divert traffic. And that's true in, I think, Stanwood, Bellwood, that's true, but I think it's also true in Ward 1. If you have speed humps, and who's ever at the end of the street is just gonna go up the other street. So I'm not sure how much you accomplished. But if Dartmoor, Ellington, Paddington, and Blandford are all done with a speed hump, that should resolve the issue. Any other input? Is that the direction we're going with this? Because if we get an answer tonight, Dennis can start on it tomorrow.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
And you probably don't have an answer for this, because I was in part of the board and you weren't even here. Is there any way that we can find out why those speed humps or bumps were taken off of Paddington and Ellington?
I doubt it.
There's no, okay,
Nobody, yeah, like Sam said, there's nobody here, we don't know.
yeah, okay.
Mr. Mayor, we are talking about humps, aren't we?
Humps, yes.
And-
Humps, stripes, and signs.
Thank you.
So, if there's no more discussion, is there a motion to install speed bumps on Dartmoor, Ellington, Paddington, Blandford, Stanwood, and Bellwood?
So moved.
Is there a second?
No second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. I think late November they'll be able to do that as soon as this first cold snap goes through, unless they're too busy.
It's all based on,
Yeah.
because they set their schedules way ahead. When I talked to him a couple of weeks ago, he said the sooner you make a decision, the quicker I can see. And the fact that they're all going, 4 of them are going in one area and 2 are going in another, that makes it easier too, because they don't have to drive all over town. They can set up shop and, making their material in one area and move to it. So, when I was originally told about this, they said they thought they could do the original 3 that we talked about in one day. So this is probably a 2-day project.
All right, it's
Wait.
not perfect, but it's a start.
Can I talk about the new court street for a second?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, you mentioned something about repaving.
I
Is
don't
that
know
what they
the,
gonna-
yeah, and I don't know the.
Has there been an assessment? I mean, so what are they gonna do? Because it's a few areas that's sinking down.
Yeah,
We had that last I
Right.
called you that one time about a year and a half ago. We had that big old.
So-
Yeah, okay, we got a street assessment, or we've got RFQs to select the firm for a street assessment due on the 15th of next month.
Okay,
Then we'll go through selecting, they'll be selected at the December meeting. They'll get the street assessment done in time to get the bids together for spring and summer.
yeah, because you're saying repave, there's a few areas on Bermuda Court that can't be repaved. I mean, you're just filling up big cracks.
Yeah, they have to make whatever repairs they're gonna make.
Okay,
They're gonna
see.
repay. You can't, yeah.
I think
Yeah,
that-
see,
I think
that's-
that-
that's what I wanna
I think the
know.
motion that the council made was resurface and repair. So whatever the engineer recommends is what we're
I
gonna do.
just wanna be sure, you know, because, you know, you can't repave over a street that can't be repaved. If the crack is
Repaired.
2 or 3 inches wide.
Yeah, they-
That's why you get an engineer.
Right, that's why I was, you know, have we had an assessment? Okay, that's all I want. That's all I
All
need.
right. I think, it's not perfect, but it's a start. All right, moving on. Discussion of parliamentary procedure. And I put this on the agenda and others wanted it on the agenda as well. Sometimes our lack of parliamentary procedure results in chaos. And it just is not a good look for the city. It's not productive. We don't get business done. Sometimes it creates hard feelings because we're not behaving like the professionals that we are. I put in front of you an email that I sent out in July because I thought we
Oh,
could do a
yeah.
better job. And I kind of reduced that email into also some bullet points that I printed out. It should be in front of you, called Meeting Agenda and Decorum. These are recommendations that I'd like to see the council get behind. I think this would help incredibly to run a smooth meeting. If we're in agreement and the council wants to put a more regimented protocol in place for our meetings, I'm happy to do it. And we can do it in the form of an ordinance to the city also, because Sam's tells me that we don't really have a solid ordinance for meeting protocol, other than Robert's rules. You know, we run our meetings according to Robert's rules. And sometimes, I mean, who's read Robert's rules, right? All of them. But at any rate, I think
There's a lot of-
these recommendations are the result of not following Robert's rules. So I just want to go through them one at a time, get your input.
Did you give everybody
I'd like to implement these, but I'm not gonna dictate how the meeting is run. If we have the support of the council, then I can be more effective. I can do my job more effectively if I know that the council's behind me. So the first,
I don't have that copy.
oh, here, I've got one right here.
Thank you.
There it is, right there. There it is.
Oh,
Yep. So we're gonna put onto the agenda, approval of agenda. We used to do that. We had an issue, years back where it just turned the meeting into chaos. So it was removed. But I'd like to add that back to the meeting. The council approves I put together an agenda for the meeting. The council approves it at the front end of the meeting. If there's a change that needs to be made or wants to be made, that's the time to do it. Before you approve the agenda, any motion to amend it should be made at that time. And then once we approve the agenda, we adhere to it. We go through the meeting with the approved agenda. We don't get off on sidelines and side discussions and things that aren't on the agenda. If there's something that the council wants on the agenda, make that motion. Typically, you would email me and it would be on there anyway, but if there's something that comes up, you say, hey, we need to talk about this. You make a motion to amend the agenda, there's a second, and we'll vote whether or not that is added to the agenda. Anybody think that's not a bad way to run the meeting?
so you're actually gonna have a timer?
Yes. Yes. So item number 2, citizens' comments. We limit them to 3 minutes so that it's not been a big issue, but there are times when it gets problematic and it seems rude to ask people to stop talking. But if we establish rules up front, and I can announce there's a 3-minute limit, and then a little ding goes off, then it's obvious that their time is expired. And I do want to
You know
also
that.
emphasize, when somebody's making citizens' comments, it doesn't elicit a response from us, okay? It doesn't initiate a conversation about an issue that's not on the agenda. We set the agenda, the citizens don't come to the podium and insert an agenda item into the meeting by commenting on something. They get their time, they make their comment, they state their piece, thank you. There are occasions where a question is asked, and if I feel like it deserves an answer, I'll give an answer. Or if it's about Holzell Park, I'll ask Tony to give an answer. Or if it's a police issue, I'll ask the chief to give an answer. And if I don't think it warrants an answer, I'll just say thank you, and they'll sit down. So, but again, I think it's important that it doesn't create conversation. It doesn't elicit a response. We don't talk back to the people, even if they're offensive. And it's not an opportunity for them to debate us either. There's no obligation on the part of the council to respond to anything a citizen says, but they do have their say. Item 3, this is where we get, really some of our meetings just get out of hand. I would like to limit council reports to 2 minutes, and the same, use a timer. Council reports are just that, they're a report. It's not to bring up an issue for debate that's not on the agenda. If there's an issue you want to discuss and it's not on the agenda, make a motion to amend the agenda at the beginning of the meeting. And the council will either approve that motion or they will not approve that motion. If they do, we'll add it to the agenda. If they don't, we move on. But 2 minutes for each person, that's a 16 minutes. We've had time, if it goes on beyond that, you know, we've had times where people stop 7 or 8 minutes. Okay, we got 8 council people. We're talking 60 minutes of meeting time for us to get through our comments. People are walking out. Okay, we've got to get to the business of the city faster. So if we limit this to 2 minutes, that's 16 minutes of the council meeting. That's plenty of time to give any report or state any concern that you might have. 2 minutes is a long time to talk. Again, if we put this in the form of a resolution or an ordinance, is everybody supportive of it? I need some feedback.
I'm in favor of that. I would also note that we have had instances where there are citizen comments, for instance, that are looked favorably upon, or it's something that is beneficial and well liked. We can't be disparate in our treatment of citizens and citizens' comments, whether we like them or not, whether they're beneficial or not, whether they're positive or negative.
I typically like to give a polite thank you to anybody that makes a comment, whether it's derogatory or not.
Sure, of course, but just to make note, I had a particular instance in mind that that happened, and I was finding myself most for the citizen comments that were being made, and then further comments that were made outside of that person's time. It was still acceptable and amenable to all of us, and it was beneficial, but it still did not respect the boundaries and the rules that we set up for all citizens.
Yes, thank you. Another one, so that we can have civil conversations, and we were doing it tonight. It worked well. Council members, please wait to be recognized. Politely address me any way you wish, and then I'll recognize you, and we'll take turns. And I'll what we don't want is somebody talking into somebody else. Everybody has their say. Your comments are directed to the chair, so it doesn't become personal.
Mm-hmm.
And then when that person has their say, then I'll recognize the next person. And if we follow those 2 rules, I think it's going to make a huge difference on how the meeting runs.
So when Sam was giving his report, we're not to engage in a conversation with him?
Well,
Or
Sam will
ask
give a
him
report, and I'll say, are there any questions? And then you ask to be recognized. And then there might be 4 people that want to talk. Go ahead, Sam.
So, first, you can get the attention of the chair by raising your hand, or standing up is what Robert Rule says, but don't stand up, that's weird. But you can make, it's a type of motion, and it's called a point of inquiry. It doesn't need to be second. You just say point of inquiry, and you say it to the chair, and then
And I'll say, what is your point?
he has to grant it, and then you can ask any question about the item that's being discussed. So during my report, you can ask any question that has to do with my report, which could pretty much be everything related to anything that I do, right? And then,
But you say point of inquiry first.
yeah, it'd be formal. You could also say, I have a question, but the formal motion would be point of inquiry. So, Robert, parliamentary procedures and Robert Rules allows for that kind of stuff. You just have to do it in the proper manner.
And to be clear, point of inquiry isn't for comment, it's to address a question you have, yeah. So I just think it's gonna be so much more respectful. We'll have such a better look in front of the public when we have a meeting, if we have some decorum in our meetings.
So don't be bad.
Don't be
I
bad.
had a question.
Yes,
Is point of inquiry done at the end of the report or during the report?
it can be during the report. What was the other item I had?
Eddie,
Oh, go ahead, Tony,
do you think 2 minutes is long enough?
for a council report?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, that's a long time to talk. Yeah, 2 minutes.
What did we give the residents last time? 7 minutes?
Oh, no.
5 minutes?
Yeah, we're gonna give
3.
residents 3 now.
3?
Yeah, and that's like they say, if you talk for 3 minutes, you've got a lot of content, you've got a lot of material.
Yeah.
Steve?
That's what the county council gives you, and they actually use a timer. They give you 3 minutes as a citizen comment, and they use a timer, and you hear it and you're done.
All right.
All right,
Can I add something?
sure, Rick.
I haven't been here as long as Tony, but
But you'll need 10 minutes.
yeah, I know. But this is my 3rd administration, I guess 3rd mayor, and I'm grateful that my citizens have kept me in this position. And I'm not perfect, none of us are. And I'm going through some rocky roads in the past 7, 8 months because I'm kind of part of the old board. Now, going forward, we've got to just think in terms of our citizens and things that happened in the past. We have lots of stuff that happened that, put our name out there, our city out there. So we're the face of our citizens, so we have to work together and we have to respect one another when we're talking. Robert Rules, respect that person, whether you like or not, because we didn't get this job to come and make friends. We might make some friends, we may not, but we still have to be adults and cordial. And when we got people out there watching, those are voters, those who want to put us out here. And they're watching, and trust me, they go talk to each other. Call each other, talk to each other. And we have got to be the ones who represent the city. So we gotta just work together. If there's something going on, see each other outside and put some boxing gloves on or whatever. Play some tennis,
Yeah.
whatever. But the thing is we are the leaders of the city. So we have to. And Robert Rules, this is the first time I've ever had this in 3 administrations. I read and learned stuff, but we're all learning. And this is good that we have this, and we have to work together as a team. And I know that's 2 minutes, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's why I said you need 10 minutes.
So
Because I know you got more to say.
Well, and I think it's well said. I think the point is, give Normandy a good look. We're Normandy,
Yeah.
let's give a professional look, okay? Last item is not really anything to do with Robert's Rules, but it does help a meeting move along. If there's specific questions about a house or a violation or a lot of concerns that can be addressed simply by a phone call or an email to Kiana or to Sam, do it before the meeting or sometime that week. You may not have the question by the time you get to the meeting. it may be resolved. And I'll repeat what I wrote down here. A lot of times we start talking about things that the general public could give a flying leap about.
Yeah.
We do, and they don't care about any particular yard that wasn't mowed or something like that. We gotta talk a bigger picture when we're at the meeting. Specific items can be addressed individually with our city administrator.
May I?
Please.
So when reports like Dennis is giving a report, or police, Chief Sanders, you don't want us asking questions to them?
That's not the case. You can. You may say point of inquiry anytime you want. I would prefer let them give their report and then invite questions following.
Oh, yeah.
But either one is appropriate. I just think you might get your question answered just
Report.
waiting for the report to be over. So let them give their report and then I'll invite questions. And again, those questions should be general in nature, not specific about are the limbs picked up in that house, in that vacant house, you know, those kind of things. Email them to Sam, he'll put a work order in, and it gets done. So, again, what I would like to do is structure our meetings in how our meetings are structured, which we don't have anything now in our ordinance, including, I think what's in the meeting is in the ordinance, but it's very vague. But if you like these, and you're willing to support me in enforcing these guidelines, we'll put them in the form of an ordinance, we'll put them in front of the board, and we'll vote on them. And then we know that that's what the council wants to do. That's how the council wants to meet. Sound good? All right.
Yolanda's here now, so, is she?
Yes, he spoke earlier. He's here.
Is there Andy's here, is there any questions you have about parliamentary procedure? I mean, we sent out that video. I've also given everybody a hard copy, a cheat sheet of Robert's Rules. Are there any questions you'd like addressed at this time? And Kiana, she's really up on this too. If one of those two will be able to answer your question.
May I?
Please.
I think, and I'm gonna repeat my request, I think it would have been really helpful to view the video together, and, I did not have time to view a video outside of this meeting, that's why we have workshops. We're all very busy with our personal lives, and be able to hear it and then ask the questions. I think that it builds awareness amongst us all, and it's not been honored, and the request has not been honored. And I don't really understand why. If it's a workshop and this is important, and this is the time we do things like this, is here together, the video, and then to be able to have questions. So I'm just real disappointed.
If I could reply, this doesn't have to be the only opportunity in a workshop to ask questions about Robert's Rules. We can certainly address it again.
But the thing is that she went to the workshop. We've got this video. We can use workshop time to all see it together, to hear each other's questions, to build our prior knowledge off each other's questions, and we're hearing each other. And so, I mean, I'm a former teacher. This is best practice. So I'm just real disappointed. Anyway. I have no questions because I have not read this, I have not seen the video, because I wanted the time in the workshop amongst us all to see it and to hear each other's questions, so.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, we're pushing. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that. I think that everybody watching it would have been. Sorry, I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Thank you. Go ahead, Kevin.
I went on to look at the video, but unfortunately I was disappointed because I didn't see Normie up there.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I had the same problem, and I just said I was from Bellary Bakers, and the coupon code still worked. So I had something wrong with Municipal League's website. And then on the next, yeah, the coupon works, cause I had that trouble this morning as well. And on the next page, it will ask for a password, the password's at the top of the page, it took me a second to figure that out. Password's procedure, and so hopefully, yeah, I ran into that same snag, but hopefully you should be able to go back,
I'll probably-
later and figure that out. Just say you're from, I don't know, Baldwin or something, and you don't know why it matters.
Is Normandy still part of the municipal league?
Yes, sure are.
Okay, so that was my concern. I mean, the little things, I mean, normally should be on there. If you got Kenlock, Pine Line, you got all these other smaller municipalities around us. We're one of the bigger municipalities in this area, and we're not on.
We got
it. That's all
slighted.
I'm saying.
Yeah, I think it's just an error on their
Maybe it was
website.
It could have been,
Oversight.
it could have
No,
been,
no, that's
I'm
not
just saying.
the
I could have picked other. It was an
Yeah.
other there, but I didn't look, I didn't feel like
I
I
think
should was an
Yolanda
other.
had,
Yeah,
No.
Yolanda, you had something to say?
Yeah, I
Yolanda,
was
you
just
had-
agreeing, I was just agreeing with Debbie that watching the video together, I think would have been effective.
I appreciate that. We just had so much material. And again, we're
No,
at
there's
10 to 7 now, and we've got some, business to discuss in closed session. So is there a motion to go into, oh no, the city newsletter. Yes, Sam, please.
Just a really brief update. So we are planning to get a newsletter out fairly quickly. We want to make sure that the fall leaf pickup dates are on there for, the rest of the season, as well as that we're, discontinuing limb service. We're still doing it because we feel that we haven't effectively communicated that we're gonna stop doing it yet. So right now, we're working on putting the newsletter together. Of course, like everything, we're running into some budget problems. So we're throwing around the idea of reducing the size. The last newsletter was 12 pages. And so I'm curious what the council would feel about removing the ward reports. Because in the last issue we did, each ward had its own page. Not only does that cost more, but it's also a lot of your guys' time to get the newsletter together. And basically, we would stick to the strict announcements. We would still have a community spotlight page where you guys could submit something. But I'm curious to what the thoughts are on that.
Any input on reducing this letter to 8 pages? Go ahead, Karen.
Is that the last one, like, is that the,
Yeah, 1 year ago.
oh, okay, so we wouldn't have one after that, right?
Yeah, we got over half of one put together, but we were missing some submissions and it kind of petered out. So,
Catherine,
well,
my hand's up.
I mean, wards could do their own newsletter and put it out.
Yeah, there's nothing to stop you from doing that.
Update our webpage,
Update the webpage, yeah.
get the word out through the web.
Well, we can do that too, but there's a large elderly population that is not going to the webpage that needs this newsletter.
But still, it's the old chief of police is still on there.
yeah.
Yes, and it's in our.
Karen?
Will it be a hard copy again? I mean, is it, okay, because if so, it's only a suggestion, I'm sorry, Dennis, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Can Public Works deliver
I
that?
suggested the same, and I think
Okay.
that's the direction we're gonna go.
Okay, thank you.
He was unaware of that today.
Can I borrow one
Yes,
of
please.
Lisa's emails?
I guess my question is, when Sam and I discussed the budget for the newsletter, ideally, what are you looking at as far as how many newsletters are gonna go out? Because if we trim a few pages out of there, we may effectively bring the cost a little lower. Last year, we ordered 500, and that was approximately about $850. So, right, so, but that was also a 12-page, so there may be some flexibility and some changes there, but what we're looking for is, okay, well, ideally, what does it look like to you as far as distributing those newsletters, and who gets them, and how many people get them? And that really helps us to get an idea of what that cost is gonna look like and how often we can put out a newsletter.
Yeah, and for context, we have about, somewhere between 1,100 and 1,200 single-family households, counting the new Glen Echo. So
Is that a call every apartment building too?
I would have to double check, I would get mad, so.
Okay.
It's a whole other issue. Kiana, so when you get the, cost from various businesses, Vicky and Glen Echo Park seem to have, a good, economical
We have
content.
a really great vendor that I've worked with in the past who has experience with working with other municipalities as well. And they're really fair, and honestly, just a lot cheaper than another vendor that the city likes
Right,
to use at times. And the quality, was quality with having a lower cost, which was great. We were able to put something out that looked really good to represent the city. But, yeah, it just really comes down to how much we can trim, what.
Yeah, for reference, this was $1.70 per issue, lower quantity, more pages. And then the Glen Echo thing, which had way higher quantity, but it's literally, there's not even a staple, it's just one piece of paper. It was only 86 cents a pages, two different vendors as
So
well.
we'd go with the open.
If we can get all the
page.
information on 4 pages, then we could,
Yeah.
but it's gonna be a lot thinner newsletter, so.
So
And
are
if
we
everyone's
good?
okay with that, we can make that work.
And then do it more often, maybe?
We'll probably only be able to do 2 with the budget.
2 with the
What
budget
what we
for now.
committed to the budget is 2 newsletters. You go to the 3rd, it'll blow it up, I think.
So Mark.
Yes.
So really, we're talking about just eliminating the ward report.
Yes.
I mean, is that really important for
I-
each citizen to know what's going on?
It
with
seemed to
each
be a
ward?
little repetitive, I
Okay,
thought,
right.
yeah.
I mean, we all one normally.
Yeah,
So it doesn't matter, one
Right.
ward one to ward four.
The information that needs to be in the newsletter is consistent to the entire city.
Yeah.
Right, so I can see eliminating the ward reports.
I agree.
You know,
So
Through
we-
the city's, newsletter.
So we eliminate the
Individually,
ward reports, reduce it to a maximum of 8 pages,
Yeah.
and then put it in the hands of administration to get it out.
yeah, you don't need each ward having its
You
own.
could always throw, if you wanna do board news yourselves, you know, you could throw out a flyer into
Right.
your ward, if you got something.
Yeah. Okay, Sam, I think we're
Got all
good.
the direction I need.
Yep,
So,
all right,
Okay, before we adjourn, Mayor, I
yes.
just wanna thank, Mr. Yarborough and Sam for, taking, the potholes. I see that some of them have been taken care of, so we appreciate that, we're moving on that. The weather's getting ready to break, so just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Is there a, let's make this, like I say, we're at 7, we're at an hour and a half. Is there a motion to go into closed session to discuss a legal issue and a personnel issue?
Motion.
Is there a second? Roll call vote, please.
Councilwoman Cleveland?
Yes.
Councilman Sachsen-Harbert?
Yes.
Councilman Jackson?
Yeah.
Councilman Evans?
Yes.
Councilman Nelson?
Nelson?
Councilman
Rick,
Nelson?
Rick.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Councilman Hong?
Yes.
Councilwoman Raza?
Yes.
Councilwoman Campbell?
Yes.
Guys have it, motion carries.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Okay.
Sam, are you gonna call me and David?
Oh, we're going in right
Stay
now.
on the line. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
let's get it
stop
over
the
with.
recording and push out anyone
Yeah.
who's not supposed to be in closed session, so please just stay on Zoom.
Good idea.
hear that?
All of us sitting
Stay
there.
on Zoom.
Stay
Yeah.
on Zoom, please.
Okay, okay.
Something was decided for the future to do it.
What's that?
To see the video.
Tell him.
Procedure.
What was you talking about Dartmoor? You said the contract was on Dartmoor.
No.
No, Mark, you know.